The glass walls of the boardroom felt like a cage. I stood frozen while my boss, Evan Brooks, pointed at the projection screen behind him. My name glowed there in bold letters next to a fake invoice showing $73,000 transferred to an offshore account. The HR director sat rigid in her chair. The CEO's face twisted with disappointment. My stomach dropped like I'd swallowed stones. Evan's voice cut through the silence, sharp and practiced. Claire knew exactly what she was doing. The evidence is clear. I tried to speak, but my throat closed. 20 faces stared at me through the glass. My coworkers. People I'd worked beside for 3 years. Not one looked away. Not one defended me. The CEO shook his head slowly. Effective immediately, you're terminated. Security will escort you out. My legs trembled. I gripped the edge of the table, staring at the document on screen. Something was wrong. The loops in the signature were too wide. The slant was off. I finally found my voice, barely a whisper. But that's not my signature. The security guard didn't meet my eyes as he walked me through the hallway. My badge beeped once at the scanner, then went silent. Deactivated. Just like that, I was erased. My desk sat empty, my coffee mug still half full from this morning. A coworker I'd shared lunch with yesterday turned away when I passed. I wanted to scream, to demand they look at me, but my voice was gone. Outside, the autumn air hit my face like cold water. I fumbled for my car keys, hands shaking so hard I dropped them twice. Inside my car, I sat perfectly still. The office building loomed above me, windows reflecting gray clouds. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder about tomorrow's meeting. Tomorrow didn't exist anymore. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe right. The betrayal felt physical, like something had torn inside me. I replayed the boardroom scene over and over. Evan's calm voice. The fake invoice. The CEO's disgust. Then it hit me. Clear and cold. I looked up at those office windows and said it out loud. He set me up. My name is Claire Dalton. I'm 32 years old. Until this morning, I was senior accountant at Kinetic Holdings, a mid-sized investment firm in Chicago. People always called me the quiet one, the dependable one. I showed up early, stayed late, and triple-checked everything. Numbers made sense to me in ways people sometimes didn't. I loved my job. I loved the rhythm of closing books, the satisfaction of balance sheets, the quiet pride when audits came back clean because of my work. My team felt like family. We celebrated birthdays with cheap cake and shared complaints about the coffee machine. I trusted them. I trusted Evan. That was my first mistake. Evan Brooks was everything I wasn't. Confident, charismatic, always the loudest voice in meetings. He had a corner office and a reputation for closing impossible deals. When he smiled at you, you felt like the most important person in the room. I admired that about him. I wanted to be more like that. Less invisible. Maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. 6 months ago, Evan started mentoring me. He'd stop by my desk with coffee, asking about projects. He praised my attention to detail, called me meticulous. It felt good. Really good. He gave me special assignments, bigger clients, sensitive accounts. I thought it meant he trusted me. I thought I was finally being recognized. Then the late-night calls started. Claire, I need those numbers by morning. It would be 11 at night. I'd still send them. He'd ask me to stay after everyone left, reviewing reports that could have waited. I told myself it was normal. This was how you climbed the ladder. You proved yourself. But my friends started commenting. My mom asked why I looked so tired. I ignored them all. Last month, Evan leaned against my desk and lowered his voice. You're the only one I can really trust with sensitive numbers. Everyone else is sloppy. I smiled. I actually smiled. I felt chosen. Special. I was such a fool. The joke started in the break room. Teacher's pet. Evan's favorite. My coworker, Marcus, said it with a grin, but his eyes weren't smiling. I laughed it off, but tension grew like mold in corners I couldn't see. My report started coming back marked with errors. Red circles around numbers I knew were right. I'd check my original files. They matched. But somehow, between my desk and Evan's approval, Things changed. I brought it up once. Evan frowned, concerned. Are you sure you're not rushing? Maybe double-check your work before submitting. Doubt crept in. Was I losing focus? Making mistakes I didn't notice? I started checking everything 3 times, then 4. It didn't help. Last week, I submitted a quarterly report I'd verified 6 times. The next morning, Evan called me into his office. The printed version had calculation errors. Obvious ones. Numbers that didn't add up. But my digital file was clean. Someone was editing my work after I submitted it. The realization made my skin crawl. Files started disappearing from my shared drive. First, small things. A backup spreadsheet. Client meeting notes. Then bigger documents. An entire folder of audit prep vanished overnight. I reported it to IT. They ran diagnostics and found nothing. No deletion logs. No user activity. Maybe you moved it and forgot, the tech suggested. I hadn't. Evan acted sympathetic when I mentioned it. Too sympathetic. He touched my shoulder, his voice dropping to that concerned tone. This is concerning, Claire. You need to be more careful. Back up everything. Triple-check your work. He made it sound like advice. Like he was protecting me. But the way he said it felt like a warning. That afternoon, I walked past his office. Through the window, I saw him tucking something into his desk drawer. A small black USB drive with a white label. I squinted, trying to read it. Client audits. My audits. My stomach turned. Why would he have my files on a personal drive? I told myself there was a reasonable explanation. There had to be. But I couldn't think of one. Evan started questioning my accuracy in meetings. Subtly at first. Claire, are these numbers current? Even when they were. Did you verify this with a source? Even when I had. He'd smile while saying it like he was helping me improve. But everyone heard. Everyone noticed. My confidence crumbled. I second-guessed every email, every calculation, every word I said. He told HR I seemed burnt out. He suggested I might need time off. I wasn't burnt out. I was being erased. My coworkers stopped asking my opinion. They stopped inviting me to lunch. I became invisible again, but worse this time. I was invisible and incompetent. One evening, I stayed late finishing a report. The office was empty, or so I thought. I heard Evan's voice from the conference room. He was on the phone, his tone clipped and cold. Don't worry. I've laid the groundwork. When this blows up, she'll take the fall. I froze in the hallway, barely breathing. He wasn't talking about a client. He was talking about me. 3 weeks ago, Evan assigned me a massive client transfer. $73,000 moving between accounts. He should have handled it himself. He always handled transactions this size. But he dropped the file on my desk with a tight smile. I need this done by Friday. Don't overthink it. I didn't. I followed protocol exactly. I verified account numbers twice. I confirmed the client's approval in writing. I documented every step. The transfer went through clean. I archived everything and marked the task complete. Friday came and went. I thought I was safe. Monday morning, my inbox exploded. Urgent emails. The client was furious. An unauthorized transfer had been flagged. $73,000 sent to an offshore account. Not the client's account. Somewhere else. I pulled up my files, hands shaking. The transaction I'd submitted was correct. But the bank records showed something different. The account numbers didn't match. And at the bottom of the fraudulent transfer form was my digital signature. Perfect loops. Perfect slant. Except it wasn't mine. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Someone had forged it. Someone had changed everything. I stormed into Evan's office without knocking. My hands shook so hard I had to clasp them together. He looked up from his computer, eyebrows raised, almost amused. Claire, you look upset. Someone forged my signature. Someone changed the transfer I submitted. This wasn't me. He stood slowly, coming around his desk. His face shifted to concern, but his eyes stayed cold. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? The file I submitted doesn't match what went through. Someone altered it. He sighed, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Claire, I know you're under pressure, but making accusations won't help. My advice? Stay quiet until we sort this out internally. If you start pointing fingers, it'll look like you're trying to deflect blame. It wasn't advice. It was a threat. My throat tightened. I didn't do this. I believe you, he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Still, maybe don't talk to anyone until HR reviews everything. For your own protection. He walked me to the door and closed it behind me. I stood in the empty hallway, feeling the walls close in. The next morning, HR called me into the boardroom. The same glass box where I'd later be destroyed. Evan sat at the head of the table, his face a mask of professional regret. The HR director, Angela, wore her neutral expression. The CEO, Mr. Harrison, sat with his arms crossed. Angela slid a folder toward me. Claire, we've completed our preliminary review. The evidence suggests you initiated an unauthorized transfer to a foreign account. That's not true. I submitted the correct information. Someone changed it. Evan shook his head slowly. Claire, your digital signature is on the final document. The timestamps match your computer login. The transfer originated from your workstation. Then someone used my login. Check the security footage. Check my USB activity. I didn't do this. Mr. Harrison's voice was quiet, disappointed. We've seen the records. This is extremely serious.
Fraud.
Embezzlement. We have no choice. My vision tunneled. Angela's voice sounded distant. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. You'll be escorted out. We're considering legal action. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Security appeared at the door. Evan watched me with something almost like pity. Almost. But not quite. I didn't leave my apartment for 3 days. I didn't shower. Didn't eat. I sat on my couch staring at nothing, replaying every moment. The accusation. The evidence. Evan's fake concern. My phone buzzed with overdue bills. Rent was coming. My savings wouldn't last 2 months. I'd worked so hard. 3 years of perfect reviews. Late nights. Missed birthdays. And now my name was attached to fraud. No one would hire me. My reputation was destroyed. On the 4th day, my phone vibrated with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Claire, it's Tessa from accounting.
I think you should know something. Can we meet?
Tessa, junior accountant. Quiet like me. We'd shared smiles, but never really talked. Why was she reaching out? I almost ignored it. Almost deleted it and went back to staring at the wall. But something in her message felt urgent. I typed back with shaking hands. When? Her response came immediately. Tomorrow. Angelo's diner.
Noon.
Come alone. Hope flickered in my chest, small and fragile. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. Tessa arrived 5 minutes late, glancing over her shoulder as she slid into the booth across from me. She ordered coffee she didn't drink. Her hands fidgeted with the paper napkin. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered. If Evan finds out, I'm next. Next. She leaned forward. You weren't the first, Claire. 2 years ago, another accountant got fired. Same situation. Unauthorized transfer. Evidence pointed straight to him. He tried to fight it, but Kinetic buried him with lawyers. My blood ran cold. Who was it? His name was Kyle Porter. He disappeared after the trial. I found an old report last week while cleaning archives. The numbers looked familiar. Same pattern as your case. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. A scanned document. An old transfer form with suspicious account details. The signature at the bottom was different, but the setup was identical. I felt dizzy. Evan did this before.
Tessa nodded.
I think he's been doing it for years. Small amounts. Covered by framing people like you and Kyle. Why are you telling me this? Because you don't deserve this. And because I'm tired of staying quiet. We sat in that diner booth for 2 hours, voices low, comparing notes. Tessa told me about the pattern she'd noticed. Transfers that went missing. Employees who vanished quietly. Always someone expendable. Always someone Evan had mentored. I realized I'd been marked from the beginning. Chosen not because I was talented, but because I was vulnerable. Quiet.
Trusting.
Easy to erase. But I wasn't going to disappear. Not like Kyle. Not without a fight. I need to prove my innocence, I said. But how? All the evidence points to me. Tessa bit her lip. There's one thing. Security footage. Every office action is recorded. Timestamps, keycard entries, computer logins. If someone used your workstation after hours, it would show. My heart jumped. Where's the footage stored? Off-site server. Only executives and IT have access. But, she paused, the boardroom has an internal archive. Separate system. If Evan was in your office after hours, the hallway cameras would have caught it. I gripped the edge of the table. Can you get it? I can try. But Claire, if we do this, we have to be smart. Legal. No breaking rules or we're both finished. I nodded. Agreed. We do this the right way. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. We're going to clear your name. I needed income.
Fast.
My savings were draining, and sitting at home made me feel like I was drowning. I applied for a bookkeeping position at a small firm across town. Nothing fancy. Just enough to pay rent. They didn't run a detailed background check. I got hired within a week. The work was simple compared to kinetic. Balancing small business accounts. Filing quarterly taxes. But it gave me structure. A reason to get out of bed. And access to accounting software similar to what Kinetic used. I studied it during lunch breaks. How transactions were logged. How digital signatures were applied. How timestamps could be manipulated if you knew the system. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning justice. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. My coworkers were kind. My boss, an older woman named Patricia, praised my accuracy. You're overqualified for this job, she said one afternoon. I smiled. I just need a fresh start. She nodded, not pushing.
I appreciated that.
At night, I documented everything. Every conversation with Evan. Every suspicious file deletion. Every late-night call. I was building my case brick by brick. The comeback was beginning. Tessa called me on a Wednesday night, voice shaking with excitement. I got something. It's not much, but it's a start. She'd managed to copy a fragment of security footage. 30 seconds. Grainy. Timestamped the night before the fraudulent transfer. The video showed Evan entering the office at 11:47 at night, long after everyone had left. He walked down the hallway toward my desk. The clip cut off before showing what he did next, but it was enough to prove he was there. How did you get this? I asked. A friend in facilities. He owed me a favor. But Claire, this isn't enough to prove anything. We need the full footage. The cameras in your workspace. The login records. She was right. A 30-second clip showed Evan in the office late. So what? He could claim he forgot something. Worked late. We needed proof of him at my computer. Using my login. Forging my signature. How do I get the full video? I asked. Tessa hesitated. Legally? You'd need to request it under your data rights. Since you were recorded, you have the right to access footage that includes you. But it takes weeks to process, and Kinetic could block it. Then we request it. My voice was steady. Officially. Through a lawyer if we have to. There's someone who can help, Tessa said.
Raj. Former IT guy.
He quit 6 months ago after Evan screwed him over. He knows the security system inside out. Hope surged through me. Can you contact him? I already did. He'll help. Raj and I met at a coffee shop downtown. He was younger than I expected, maybe 28, with tired eyes and a wary expression. He ordered an espresso and got straight to the point. Tessa told me what happened. I'm not surprised. Evan's a snake. You worked with him? Worked under him. He blamed me when a client's data got leaked. Wasn't my fault, but he made sure everyone thought it was. I quit before he could fire me. He stirred his espresso slowly. I still have access credentials to the old security archive. Not supposed to, but IT never deactivated me. My pulse quickened. Can you get the footage? Legally? Yes. You can file a data access request. You were recorded, so you have rights to that footage. I can help you navigate the request to make sure they don't bury it. How long will it take? If we file correctly?
A week.
Maybe 2. But Claire, once you do this, Kinetic will know you're coming for them. Evan will know. I thought about Kyle Porter, about the others Evan had destroyed, about my ruined career and empty bank account. I don't care. I want the truth. Raj nodded. All right. Give me until Friday. I'll have what you need. The footage arrived on a Thursday afternoon. A plain email with a download link and a password. My hand shook so hard I mistyped the password twice. Finally, the video loaded. Black and white. Time-stamped. Camera angle from above my cubicle. The office was dark and empty. Then, at 11:52, Evan appeared. He looked around, confirming he was alone, then sat at my desk. He pulled a small black USB drive from his pocket, the same one I'd seen in his office. He plugged it into my computer and waited. The screen flickered to life. He typed quickly, confidently. I watched him open my accounting software. Access the transfer file I'd submitted. Change the account numbers. Replace my digital signature with a forged version. He worked for 8 minutes. Then he unpacked the USB, wiped down the keyboard with his sleeve, and left. I sat frozen in my apartment, tears streaming down my face. Not from sadness. From relief. From vindication. Finally, I had proof. Finally, the truth was recorded. I watched the video 3 more times, memorizing every detail. Then I copied it to 2 USB drives and uploaded it to a secure cloud account. I wasn't losing this. Not again. I could have gone to the police, filed a report, let the system handle it, but I knew how easily things disappeared. How lawyers twisted evidence. How powerful men like Evan walked away while people like me got crushed.
No.
This needed to be public. Undeniable. I needed witnesses who couldn't be silenced. Kinetic's quarterly board meeting was scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Every executive would be there. Investors.
Department heads.
The CEO. Evan would be there, presenting his polished reports. And I would be there too. I checked my email and found the notice I'd been copied on before my termination. My case was still under internal review. Technically, I hadn't been formally charged. Just fired. That gave me a sliver of legal standing. Enough to request a hearing. I drafted an email to Angelo in HR, professional.
Come.
Requesting a formal review meeting to present new evidence regarding my termination. I cited employee rights clauses buried in the company handbook. I kept it vague. No mention of video. No accusations. Just a request for fairness. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I whispered to my empty apartment. If I'm going down, I'm taking the truth with me. Angela's response came 2 days later.
Cold.
Formal. But exactly what I needed. Ms. Dalton, in the interest of due process, we'll allow you to present your case at the upcoming board meeting. This is a final courtesy. Please arrive at 9 on the scheduled date. I read it 3 times, searching for hidden traps. There were none. Just corporate language and legal coverage. Evan must have pushed for this. He wanted to humiliate me one last time. Prove publicly that I was guilty. He had no idea what I was bringing. I responded with a polite thank you, confirming my attendance. Then I prepared. I made copies of everything. The forged documents. The original files. Tessa's evidence. Raj's testimony notes. And the USB drive with the security footage. I practiced my presentation in front of my bathroom mirror. Calm voice. Steady hands. No anger. Just facts. The truth didn't need drama. Tessa texted me the night before. You ready? As ready as I'll ever be. You've got this, Claire. Make him pay. Raj sent a message too. I'll be watching from outside. If you need backup, I'm there. I smiled at my phone. I wasn't alone anymore. That realization steadied me more than anything else. Tomorrow, I'd walk back into that glass boardroom. But this time, I wasn't the victim. I was the witness. And I had receipts. I barely slept. I rehearsed my words 100 times. Tested the USB drive twice to make sure it worked. Laid out my clothes. A simple navy suit. Professional.
Calm.
Doubt crept in around 3 in the morning. What if they didn't believe me? What if they dismissed the video as edited? What if Evan had a backup plan I hadn't considered? I sat on the edge of my bed, breathing slowly. Then I remembered Kyle Porter. The others who'd been erased. If I didn't do this, Evan would do it again. Some other quiet accountant would sit where I sat, accused of crimes they didn't commit.
I couldn't stop that.
But I could stop him. I grabbed my phone and texted Tessa. What if they don't believe me? Her response came immediately. Then at least you tried. But Claire, they will. The truth is loud. I texted Raj next. Thank you. For everything. Just play the video. Let him hang himself. I whispered to myself in the dark. Stay calm. Let the truth do the talking. When morning finally came, I dressed slowly. Drank coffee I couldn't taste. Drove to Kinetic's office building with my heart hammering against my ribs. This was it. No turning back. I parked in the visitor lot, grabbed my bag with the USB inside, and walked toward those glass doors one last time. The boardroom looked exactly the same. Glass walls. Polished table. The same faces staring at me. But this time, I wasn't frozen. Angela sat at one end. Mr. Harrison at the other. Department heads lined the sides. And there, directly across from me, sat Evan Brooks. He smiled.
Confident.
Relaxed. Like this was a formality before he crushed me completely. I sat down, placing my bag carefully on the table. My hands were steady. Angela started. Ms. Dalton, you requested this meeting to present evidence regarding your termination. You have 15 minutes. I nodded. Evan leaned back in his chair. I appreciate Claire wanting closure. This has been hard on everyone. But the facts remain. The transfer was unauthorized. Her signature is on the documents. We've been more than fair. Mr. Harrison frowned. Let her speak, Evan. Evan raised his hands in mock surrender. I opened my bag slowly.
Pulled out a single USB drive.
Slid it across the table toward Mr. Harrison. My voice was calm.
Clear. Steady.
Before we discuss the facts, you might want to see this first. Evan's smile faltered. Just slightly. Just enough. Mr. Harrison picked up the USB, looking at me with confusion. What is this? The truth. Mr. Harrison inserted the USB into his laptop. The screen projected onto the wall behind him. The boardroom fell silent. The video started. Black and white footage. Empty office. Timestamp glowing in the corner. Then Evan appeared on screen. Walking down the hallway.
Sitting at my desk.
Plugging in his USB drive. Gasps echoed around the room. Someone whispered, "Is that?" The video continued. Evan typing. Opening files. Changing account numbers. Forging my signature. 8 minutes of undeniable proof. When it ended, the silence was deafening. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Angela's face had gone pale. Mr. Harrison stared at Evan with something beyond anger. Betrayal. Evan stammered, his confidence shattered. That's edited. Digital manipulation. You can't trust. The timestamp is verified, I said quietly. IT can confirm it. The metadata is intact. This footage came from your own security system. Evan stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. She's lying. She hacked the system. This is fabricated. Mr. Harrison's voice cut through like ice. Sit down, Evan. Evan didn't sit. He looked around the room, searching for allies. Finding none. This is a setup. She's desperate. Security, Mr. Harrison said. Escort Mr. Brooks out of this building. Effective immediately, he's suspended pending investigation. The same security guard who'd walked me out entered the room. Evan's face crumbled. Reality crashed over him. He looked at me one last time, and I met his gaze without flinching. They walked Evan out through the same hallway he'd humiliated me in. Past the same coworkers who'd watched me fall. This time, they watched him. Whispers spread like wildfire. Security deactivated his badge at the front desk. The beep echoed in the silence.
He was erased. Just like he'd erased me.
Back in the boardroom, Angela cleared her throat. Miss Dalton, we owe you an apology. A significant one. This should never have happened. Mr. Harrison nodded, his face grim. We'll launch a full investigation. If there are other victims, we'll find them. And Claire, your termination is rescinded. Effective immediately, you're reinstated with full back pay. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt relief. But all I felt was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of proving myself. I looked at Mr. Harrison. Thank you. But I'm not coming back. His eyebrows lifted. You're not?
No.
I'm starting my own consulting firm, helping people navigate workplace retaliation and financial abuse. People like me who get set up and have nowhere to turn. Angela blinked. That's admirable. I stood, gathering my things. I appreciate the apology. But Kinetic failed me long before Evan forged that signature. No one questioned him. No one checked the facts. You all just believed him, because he was louder. Silence. Mr. Harrison looked down. You're right. We failed you. I walked toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, check Kyle Porter's case. Evan did this to him too. He deserves justice. Then I left that glass room for the last time. But this time, I walked out with my head high. 3 months later, my consulting firm was thriving. Small office. Just me and 2 part-time assistants. But the work mattered. I helped 3 women navigate wrongful termination cases. Connected 2 others with lawyers who took their harassment claims seriously. Word spread quietly. People who'd been silenced found their voices. Tessa joined me part-time, handling financial audits. Raj provided IT security consulting. We became a team built on trust and truth. Kinetic settled with Kyle Porter out of court. Evan faced criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. The trial was set for next spring. I'd be testifying. I didn't feel angry anymore. Just certain. One afternoon, I received a letter in the mail. Law office return address. Inside was a single sheet. A reference request form. For Evan Brooks. He was applying for a position at another firm. They wanted my professional opinion. I stared at the form for a long time. I could have ignored it, thrown it away,
moved on.
But some truths need to be spoken. I sat at my desk and wrote one line in the comments section. Integrity is the currency of trust. He's bankrupt. I sealed the envelope, mailed it, and went back to work. The past was behind me. The future was mine. And I'd built it on something Evan never had. The truth. 6 months after that boardroom meeting, I stood in my office looking out at the city. My firm had grown. 5 employees now. 20 active cases. Media outlets were calling about workplace fraud stories. I'd become a voice for people who'd been silenced. My phone buzzed. A text from Tessa. New client. Says her boss is setting her up. Sounds familiar. I smiled. Send her my way. This work wasn't glamorous. It didn't make me rich. But it mattered. Every person I helped was someone who didn't have to fight alone. Every case I won was a crack in the system that protected people like Evan. Some nights, I still thought about that boardroom. The moment I slid the USB across the table. The look on Evan's face when the video played. But I didn't think about it with anger. I thought about it with gratitude. Because that moment taught me something crucial. The truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be undeniable. I grabbed my coat and locked the office. Outside, the city hummed with life. Somewhere, another person was being framed. Another quiet accountant was being set up. But now they had somewhere to turn. I walked toward the subway, blending into the evening crowd. Vindicated.
Free.
Unbroken. And ready for whatever came next.